Okay, listen up. This is First 5, where I play a game for 5 hours and tell you what I think in 5 minutes. There are 2 questions I'm going to answer. Did I get something out of those 5 hours, and would I keep playing? Today's game is We Were Here Too, and man, I accidentally picked a perfect game to start this series off with. We Were Here Too is a great example of a short but still entertaining game. Right up front, this game is only about 2 hours long. But before you rush to turn this video off, let me tell you why it's a great 2 hours that are worth your money. Oh, and that it has replayability. And it's only going to run you $10. That helps too. It's also a pretty unique experience, one that I can only think of a few peers to compare it with. See, We Were Here Too bills itself as a 2-player co-op puzzler, but most of the puzzles are more challenges of communication than brain twisters. Both players are always working together to complete a single puzzle, but the solution often requires you to combine disparate pieces from separate rooms. The challenge in this game doesn't stem from trying to figure out what the solution to the puzzle is. The real difficulty will be communicating the vital elements your partner needs to reach the solution, or alternatively, visualizing what your partner is describing to you. The challenge is describing this to a guy that's seeing this. Oh, and sometimes your friend's life hangs on you solving the puzzle quickly. No pressure. To say more about the puzzles would require me to start spoiling entire mechanics when there's only a dozen or so in the game, but as you might have picked up by now, there are 2 sides to every puzzle, so after you finish the game, you can still go through it again on the opposite side. And then after that, if you want the perfect ending, you're going to have to successfully run through the entirety of the game in a single sitting. And many of the puzzles won't have the exact same solution on subsequent run-throughs. The principle behind each puzzle obviously stays the same, but the pieces will move every time. It does make puzzles easier to solve the second time through, but the moving pieces still require you to put in some work. When you start rushing through your later playthroughs to get that true ending, you and your partners start working like well-oiled clockwork, and the challenge becomes less, how do I solve this, and more, how perfectly can I execute this? How fast can I speedrun this game? You know, actually, this would be an extremely fun speedrunning game, now that I think about it. Get on it, AGDQ. Anyway, let's get to the verdict. Did I get something out of the 5 hours I spent playing this game? Yeah, I'd say so. The game has a few warts with slightly clunky controls and a few reloading difficulties, but the core elements, the actual puzzles, were great fun, though I'll admit that it helped a lot that I had a good friend on the other side of the walkie-talkie. Would I play it more after this? No. In the time I spent with this game, I've already 100%ed it, and seen everything there is to see. But for what you get, that's not a bad thing, and I certainly don't regret the purchase. But if there's one thing that strikes me about We Were Here Too, it's just how limited an audience this game can reach. A lack of couch co-op feels like a missed opportunity, but as soon as you get into the game, it becomes clear why it wasn't included. Just being able to look over at your partner's screen would negate a majority of the game's puzzles. A microphone is absolutely mandatory, as I'm not even sure this game has a text function, so more casual PC players might have trouble participating. And the quote-unquote hardcore players that already have a mic and a regular gaming buddy to drag into the game with them will probably turn their nose up at the short playtime. The result is a fairly narrow band of people that We Were Here Too is probably going to appeal to. And that's a bit of a shame, because none of those limiting factors are bad things that should be held against this game. It's a game that knows exactly what it wants to be, and it's a great alternative if you just want to stay home instead of going out to a movie, or if only a couple of the regular gaming group or raid static or whatever are hanging around any particular afternoon. I recommend this game for a nice one-off spot of fun. If anything I mentioned has even remotely piqued your interest, give it a shot. And if you're still on the fence, check out the original We Were Here. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down with it myself, but it's free to play, so you can get a taste of how the gameplay works and pick up the sequel if you want more. But regardless of whether you try before you buy or not, I definitely think that We Were Here Too is a fun little game that's worth your afternoon.